Recently, I interviewed Margo Shaddick, a Toddler Group Leader from Bristol, about her experience of Toddler Group, but particularly the way that she managed to make the jump from Toddler Group to Alpha and helped people to explore faith. Enjoy. So Margo, how long have you been involved in the Toddler Group here?
It's been just over 14 years now.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I know that you came to Toddler Rocks, I think, initially, and then went on to do Toddler Groups. What principles do you feel have been helpful from Toddler Groups and Toddler Rocks?
In terms of trying to engage more on a spiritual level with people, we'd toyed with the idea of should we do some sort of alpha course or what exactly could we do. But it's a big step, I think, to do it. But following on from Toddler Rocks, we just thought, well, we'll give it a go. It's not down to us, in a sense, to get the results, but if we don't even offer it, then how can we know if people would be interested in doing it? And often we're just one step in a process. And so having done a couple of alpha courses now, I wouldn't say that our church is now full of people that started off as toddler mums and now they're all believers and active members of the church, but I think we've taken people on a step in their journey anyway.
Okay, that's really interesting, and something I'd quite like to unpack, if that's okay, because one of the things that we find both on Toddler Rocks and Toddler Groups, and the question I get asked all the time, is how do you help people to go from the Toddler Group into church, and more importantly, how do you get them to go from the Toddler Group into faith? And it seems to me that you've had a reasonable amount of success where that's concerned. So tell me a little bit about the journey from Toddler Group to Alpha. Because one of the things that we often say in Toddler Rocks particularly is that that's too big a leap, that people are unlikely to go from just pure basic Toddler Group to Alpha and a 10-week course. So how did you manage to bridge the gulf, as it were, between the two?
One of the ways we did it was by shortening the course.
Okay.
So we've tended to do the kind of most important, if you like, or the basic number of weeks, perhaps 6 weeks. So we try to fit it in more or less in a school term, maybe between a half term and Easter we've done one, or just try not to drag it too long over a long holiday anyway. So always be finished before a major school holiday.
Okay.
So don't try and expect people to have 2 weeks off and come back again.
Yes.
So we've done it, I think, across a half term, but not over a longer holiday.
Okay. So have you split the course into two parts and done them each side of the half term? Or how have you, if you've not done that, how have you decided what are the most important parts?
I think with the alpha, certainly, when you get to the later weeks, it's almost more like discipleship than actual faith.
Yes.
So we'll concentrate on the ones that really are the faith ones.
Yes.
And then leave the discipleship ones for a later date for anybody that wants to follow on.
Okay. That still leaves the question, how do you get people to be interested enough to actually come on a course like that? Tell me how you manage that. How does that work?
I think timing is part of it, and doing it almost specifically for them. Very often, if you announce that things are happening within the church, people in the Toddler Group don't think it's anything to do with them.
Yes.
So they just let it go over their heads. So we've done it so that it was specifically aimed at them. So there's two different ones that we've done. The first time we did it following on straight from our Toddler Group. So we meet on a Tuesday morning up until 11:30. Then from 12 o'clock we provided a light lunch, and then we did the alpha kind of over the lunch and following on. So it didn't work for everybody, and no time will ever work for everybody. But the fact that they were already here and already a group that just stayed on and did it, I think was helpful. Okay, and did you provide a creche for the children? Yes, we did. We also provided a creche for so it does require a fair number of people. I think that one, it was quite labour intensive because you had a couple of people that needed to be in the kitchen organising the lunch, and we just did things like soup and rolls or sandwiches, this kind of thing. So not a full-blown meal by any means, but still somebody's got to prepare it and somebody's got to serve it. And then we needed a couple of people to be watching the children in another room, and then also people to be involved in the discussion and just helping talk through the issues.
Okay.
We actually used the alpha videos on that occasion.
Okay.
So we didn't need somebody who was willing to present the topics, because that's, I think, another level maybe again.
Yes, absolutely.
So we used the official Alpha DVDs.
Okay, and did you use Alpha
YouTube.
Express, so the shorter versions?
No, actually that time we used the long ones.
Right, okay.
So they're about 35 minutes.
Yes.
Which, so we had about an hour, so half and half watching the video and discussion time.
Okay, and how many came? How many attended?
That time we had about 8 or 10, I think.
Right, wow, which must have been really quite encouraging.
Yes, some were church mums or slightly fringe church mums who were interested to do it and to have a bit of time in the day to study the Bible and to get together into a small group almost. But then others were not Christians at all.
Okay, fantastic. And you've only done it once, or have you done it more than once?
No, we've done it more than once. We also ran a coffee morning at the church here, and so the following year we decided to run one alongside the coffee morning. Partly we were aware that there were a number of mums that didn't come to the toddler group but did come to the coffee morning, and there were some that actually came to both who were expressing some interest in doing some kind of course. So we decided to do it alongside the coffee morning instead of the toddler group. And that worked really well for us actually, because the coffee morning staff, as it were already here. They were doing the coffee, they were doing the refreshments, so we didn't have to worry about that side of it that time. We could just concentrate on doing the actual course. And we got our minister involved in that one as well.
So he did the talks?
So he did the talks.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so what was good about that, we actually condensed it quite a bit, and that we called it Alpha Espresso because it was alongside the coffee morning.
Excellent.
And it was shortened. So he did the talks, and he could obviously make them as long or as short as we needed then. So he did talks in about 15 minutes in a separate room, and a couple of our toddler team came along and helped watch any of the children that didn't come into the room with us. And then we all came back out into the main sort of coffee area and had our discussion around tables in the main area so that the children could play with the toys again.
Okay. And how many did you get attend that time?
That time we had about 6, I think.
Okay. So in comparison to the size of the toddler group, so how big would your toddler group normally be?
We cap our numbers at 50 families, so it's a big toddler group.
Okay. So out of that 50, you would have 8 to 10 that came to, which is actually 20% or thereabouts, which isn't too bad, is it?
That's quite a lot.
That's quite impressive. Why do you think it is? Why do you think, because we're told often that people just aren't interested in exploring faith, they're just not interested in that sort of stuff at all.
And some definitely are not.
No, yes, absolutely. And that's where they are in their particular journey.
Yeah.
But for 20% to be willing to go, do you know, I might come along to this. What do you think? What was the secret ingredient that made them be willing to do that?
Wow, that's a really good question. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe it was people who'd been coming for a number of years.
Okay.
We always have a Bible story as part of our toddler group. And obviously the aim of that and the prayer alongside that is that things will be seeping in and they will be raising questions, that would be making the mums think, although it's a story for the children.
Yes.
We obviously want the mums to be thinking as well about the things that we're saying, and so maybe it's partly that.
Okay. So how much do you think trust and relationship play a part in them being prepared to walk with you? You know, and that you make the invitation and they go, do you know, I actually know Margo and I sort of trust Margo, and therefore if she's saying this might be helpful, I might go along. Would that have some part to play? I'm
sure that does play a part. What we've always tried to do with both of them is to very much have our team running it, although we did have our minister involved in one of them. He's in and out on a Tuesday anyway.
Yes.
And they do see him and they know who he is. And I think that definitely helps, that it's not some sort of helicopter team coming in, plonking down and saying, we want to offer you this. It's us. And a lot of them are aware that we pray at the end of a morning, and if they've got issues going on, we will say to them, is it okay if we bring that to the group to pray? And so that is part of how we want our group to be known, I suppose.
Okay. So there's something, it sounds to me as if your group's quite natural, and the sharing of faith and the conversations about spiritual things, you've managed to actually do in such a way that it doesn't seem like, oh, now we're stepping into the spiritual bit. but that actually there's a sort of blending and an integration of faith and life. Do you think that helps? Do you think that's useful?
That is our main aim almost, is that we want
Okay.
people to see that God is real in our lives. That's like our overarching aim of Toddler Group almost. And we once a year at Christmas we usually have a meal for the mums. So we invite the mums and we do lay the tables really nicely, and we get some other people from church to come and serve, and as a team we'll sit with them and we kind of try to treat them quite nicely. There's a lot of the mums perhaps don't work at the moment and they don't have nice fancy Christmas meals to go off to with their companies or whatever, so we like to do that for them and just make the room look really nice and make them feel a bit pampered, but we always have some kind of testimony as part of that as well.
Okay.
And that's when I'm asking somebody to do it. Most of the team members have done it, but we sometimes get somebody else to come in and do it. And what I always say is that my main aim is we want them to know that God is real to us. It's not about religion, it's not about what we do or don't do, it's about God is real, God exists, we know him, and he actually influences our lives. And I think that's what we try to bring to the group, and where we have opportunities to speak, that's kind of what we're trying to get across, really.
Okay,
that he's a very real person to us.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for putting yourself through this. I know it's not easy to talk to a camera because I do it quite often. And so really appreciate the time that you've given and the comments that you've made. That's brilliant.
Thank you.